Is it really a surprise to anyone anymore that I'm unable to run out of fascinating Pokemon theories to talk about? It seems that once I finish one video, 10 new theories are created. So without further ado, here's Fascinating Pokemon Theories number 9. One of the biggest additions to the Pokemon series in Generation 6 were the Mega Evolutions, which added an extra layer of strategy to the games and even more planning while creating your perfect team. One of my personal favorites of these new Mega forms was Mega Gengar, which in my opinion has the coolest transformation. A lot of Generation 1 Pokemon had fairly simple designs. This allowed them to go crazy with the Mega forms, including Gengar's. One of the biggest inclusions of its new form is a third eye, which is placed in the center of its head slightly above the two other eyes. A regular Gengar has no sign of a third eye, leading some to ask where it came from. Well, when transformed, Mega Gengar's ability changes to Shadow Tag. Shadow Tag traps the opponent, forcing them to stay in battle. Coincidentally, there's a move that has the same exact effect, known as Mean Look. It just so happens that the animation for Mean Look always features a glaring eye in the games, which may also be a function of Gengar's third eye, a permanent Mean Look. Another theory that has recently been spreading around the internet involves the Pokemon Grimer. Grimer is an artificial Pokemon because it's made out of pollution and sludge, but how exactly did it get eyes, a mouth, and arms? One theory to explain this is that Grimers are created when a child falls into toxic sludge, and then mutates into a Pokemon. If you think this theory's crazy, just hear me out. Grimers are 2 feet and 11 inches tall, which is about the average height of a 3-year-old. Also, Grimers weigh 66.1 pounds. While a 3-year-old may only weigh around 35 pounds, you also have to include the weight of the sludge, which can easily justify its weight. All of this has made some conclude that a Grimer is actually a mutated child, but whether it's true or not is yet to be determined. Recently I received a message asking me a very interesting question, which was why Nidoran has 2 different Pokédex entries for male and female. This question stumped me because it brings up a good point. While they do evolve into different Pokemon, that really isn't a great excuse since other Pokemon do the same thing, yet share one Pokédex entry. So why didn't Game Freak simply give one Pokédex entry for both genders? Or if they were meant to be separate types of Pokemon, why did they give them the same name? The only answer I could come up with was that since they're from Generation 1, the idea of having multiple forms of the same breed wasn't thought of yet, so they simply gave them separate slots. But the evolutions kinda throw that argument out of the window. While my best guess is because it was Generation 1, the answer's still up in the air. While we're on the subject of Nidoran, some have seen a strange resemblance in its evolved forms Nidoking and Nidoqueen in comparison to Rhydon and Kangaskhan. If you look at their original sprites, the similarities are even more blatant. As you can see, all 4 of them stand on 2 legs, have similar face structures, and are about the same body build. It's also worth mentioning that Rhydon and Kangaskhan were the first 2 Pokemon to be created. While I haven't found much more to go on other than these few pieces of information, I have a feeling that early on in the development there was some sort of connection between these 4 Pokemon. But what do you think? In Generation 1, when you go north of Cerulean City, you'll run into your rival Gary Oak. After a battle, he tells you that he just visited a man named Bill and filled up a lot of the pages of his Pokédex when there. When you continue on, you'll reach a house on Cerulean Cape that belongs to Bill. Inside, papers are all over the floor and Bill has been turned into a Clefairy. It's stated multiple times throughout the game that Bill is some sort of computer genius, with his name actually being a reference to Bill Gates. After saving Bill, you have to wonder why such a smart guy would test a new unstable machine on himself that would turn him into a Clefairy. With this information, some have concluded that he didn't, but rather Gary pushed him into the machine. Gary could have possibly went up to Bill's house, forced Bill into the Pokemon Converter machine, then ransacked the place, taking a ticket for a ride on the SS Anne and most of Bill's notes. This would explain how Gary filled up a bunch of the pages of his Pokédex, by stealing the information from Bill, who was at that point defenseless since he was transformed into a Clefairy. When you turn Bill back into a human, he gives you a ticket to the SS Anne, the same ship that Gary could have stolen a ticket for. At this point, you can lead into the other popular theory that you killed Gary's Raticate in revenge for what he did to Bill. While this theory doesn't hold much credibility, it is a fairly amusing copy-pasta story. On a final note, let's compare the Route 113 theme from Ruby and Sapphire with the song from Mother 3. So that was my 9th batch of fascinating Pokemon theories, and until next time, thanks for watching.